Hello and welcome to my van. In this van I am building the Catamaran, and here is the video you all have been waiting for. I will show in this video how I mounted all these servos, how I mounted the winch and how everything turned out. This video is meant to give an overview how I managed all the problems, and I will address some of them, where my current problems are and what I can do to solve them. First of all, how I mounted the Daggerboards. The Daggerboards are in these slots. Here's a spring and they are mounted onto a screw. This right here is not for the Daggerboard, this is just to keep the pole stable. Under tension, these will have some tension as well. To mount the Daggerboards into the hull, they have a little slot that you can see pretty good from underneath of the boat. I also added this little knob. You can see it on the back of the Daggerboard. This provides a turning point for the Daggerboard. Pretty good to see is also that I reinforced the whole Daggerboard section with some carbon fiber and this diagonal rod which goes onto the beam. It is currently mounted or fixed with some glue. It is epoxy with microballoons and sticks through the hull onto the Daggerboard box. These Daggerboards came out of the mold and they are currently around about 5.5 centimeters width. This increases to 5.6 and goes down to basically 0 after 1 centimeter. To move these Daggerboards, I've just a simple control line and they slide into the box. Let's see if this works when we test the boat. Here you can see the spring and this is the control line. The control line comes out of this little hole and goes onto this left servo. When I move this servo, it pulls the spring and also moves the Daggerboard or moves the foil. This increases the lift. These Daggerboards are currently not fixed in position from left to right. This gives me more or less riding moment or more or less lift. My current thought is that the leeward foil will always be on one position and the other one is always on the other position. Let's see how this turns out. Going across from the Daggerboard box, we go back to the servo setup. Here you can see 4 servos. Well, you can basically see 3 servos and one is hidden. This purple one is the main winch. It's an hacker servo which is programmable. This left servo is just a standard micro servo which is watertight. This aluminium one is a servo which is meant for discus launch gliders and got high precision and high speed for steering. Below there's a really slow but strong servo which controls the foils of the rear. This slot is currently in a rough surface or shape. As you can see, these edges are not trimmed yet. I will draw up a box which will sit perfectly in this area. But for now, tape will make everything possible to sail. This cutout is roughly 11 centimeters long. Here in the front you can see the cables. These cables are to connect the left to the right. I made this plug, this connection, for all my 4 servos on the non-receiver side. As you can see, I've also a battery plug. To run all these servos, I needed 6 wires. 4 to have the pulse module signal and 2 for power and ground. My intention was just to run one battery on one side and run the cables all the way around the boat to the other side, which turned out not to work because I have not enough current and not enough power to power these big servos, which draw a lot of amperage over this distance. So by adding another battery, I solved this problem. I also tried just to run the battery and not have power and ground. This definitely does not work because your receiver needs for every signal another ground. But my receiver even wants power to get to the servos. It checks the current and the power out of the receiver, which is hidden in this hull, if that sounds reasonable, and then gives a signal. These antennas hook up to a normal receiver. I am running a basic receiver which came with my radio. You can see here I have plugged in all my servos, which are 7 at the moment, and power. Although I designed these hulls to get round tubes as beams, I decided to go with oval ones. These oval ones are a little more aerodynamic and I can bend them. As you can see in this shot, these are not flat, these are round and curved. I also had to add this cross-section bar, which connects the front and the rear, to compensate for the power on this string. This is a metal wire. This is the compression post. These two round circles are where my mast can sit. The rear one is the current one. This one is the one I tested. To attach the shrouds, I made these little carbon fiber things, which attach into the hull on the top and go way beyond here, into the bottom. They have a little hole where I can stick a pin through. These are also attachments for the sheets. I'm currently waiting for more of these stainless ball bearing pulleys. They work great in salt water and are pretty reliable and efficient. I will now get into the steering system and also the rudders. These suck. They definitely need improvement. When testing, I can already see these are not stable. So I'm currently redesigning this system. Let's have a look to the rear of the boat. Here you can see my rudders. These rudders have this shape, which looks kind of awkward to you maybe. But this top surface is to provide steering power when in displacement mode. Without any surface area, you can't steer a boat. So that's why we have plenty of surface area in this upper section. The faster you go, the further you can fly. So when I fly, only this little section is inside the water and provides enough surface area when there's some current flowing around it. Here you can see a ball joint. This sucks. Currently this is for steering, this is for adjusting the lift. This right here is for stabilizing the whole system. You can see here is a carbon bracket which gets a slot, a pin to move inside and out. To mount the steering to the rudder, I just used heat shrink. This is not really useful, to be honest. It gets a lot of slop and also wears through, as you can see here for my lift. I need to adjust that. I also had to make these big holes. I also had to make these holes a little bigger than they needed to be. What I do like though is the bracket everything is mounted to. As you can see, I have 2 screws which mount the carbon fiber L-shaped bracket and gives me leverage for the steering and also for the pin. That was a rough overview for the boat. If you have any question, leave them down in the comments. I can answer all of them. The next step will be building the perfect rig. I have built a rig which is currently in test mode. I can show you what I got so far. Excuse my limitation in space for filming and showing the parts. This is what I got and this is what I use. So I can show you my sails only laying down on my bed. The trouble is the sail material is clear and it's really hard to film. I hope some reflections can give you an idea how I made it. I will try to explain as much as possible so you understand everything. These are 2 sails right now. I can remove one so you have a better visibility. This is the first sail I have ever made in my entire life. First proper sail, I'd say. And this is the second sail. This turned out pretty good, I think. I got help from 2 people, Toby Breithaupt and Michael. I used these little ropes just to connect the sail to the mast. I used spinnaker tape to give some reinforcements and a soldering iron to get these holes. you can see a pin which mounts my halyard. As a batten, I just used some carbon cutoffs. This diagonal one helps me to give this top some stiffness, and these lower ones give the end of the sail some stiffness. For the whole sail, I used around about one hand length as a distance between all these ropes. Down here you can see printed parts. Everything out of these yellow filament is just a normal PETG. This screw grips just for the vang. By pushing this down or up, I can adjust the vang or the leash of the sail. This is the Cunningham. The Cunningham connects the bottom of the sail and controls the forward section of the sail, and also moves the whole deepest section, the draft basically, of the sail forward and aft, and also maybe can bend my mast a little bit. Back here is my out haul, which just slides out or in. This batten in the middle just holds this sail section a little further forward. I can do this because this point and this point is on one diagonal line and pushes this top up. Foot of the mast is just carbon fiber rod inside the carbon fiber mast. This grips into the bearing of the boat. To store my sails, I have just a rubber band beneath my ceiling. This rubber band can hold all my sails. This is for the Catamaran and this is for the international 1 meter boat. That's it for now. If you have any questions, once again, leave them down in the comment section. And if you don't want to miss the next video, consider subscribing. Until then, my name is Arne. See you.